Hello everyone, thank you so much for tuning into Code with Yazid. My name is Yazid and we are looking at the fourth project in our JavaScript Algorithms and Data Structures certification. This series will go through all of the projects in this certification, so if you do enjoy the content, please like, subscribe, and share. I would really appreciate that. I'm also on Twitter at YazidB if you would like to connect. My DMs are currently open for questions, comments, and hate mail, whatever you want to send me. So, for this project, we are doing a telephone number validator. Basically, we're going to have a function that takes a string, which is a phone number, and we are going to return true or false. True if it is a valid phone number, and false if it is not a valid phone number. So we see some examples of valid phone numbers. You can have the dashes in between. You can have some parentheses. You can have an optional space with the parentheses. They can all be spaced out. It can be one big number, or it can have a 1 in the front with all of these spacings. And there are some more that we can look at down here. And we'll see that this is valid, so on and so forth. This is not valid because it only has 7 characters, 7 numbers, inside of it. And a US telephone number has 10 or 11 if you want to include that first 1 in the beginning. This is not valid because you are missing the left parenthesis. This is not valid because it's complete garbage. This would be fine, but this should be a 1, not a 2. That's what makes this invalid. Same thing here. You can't have 0, can't have -1, can't have this mess. So we're going to get valid and invalid phone numbers, but basically these are going to be most of the valid ones, so we need to include these. So let's start thinking about how we can break this problem down. When you're dealing with the validation of strings, one topic that you will hear a lot, especially as you go on to improve and continue your programming journey, is regular expressions. Regular expressions are a way to pattern match on strings. So let's start with an example. I have this website, I'll link to it in the description, regexpal.com. And this is one of my favorite tools for analyzing regular expressions. If you watch video 1 in the series, I talk about regex there. And a short name for regular expressions is regex, regular expressions. So let's say you have this telephone number. We saw that on the FreeCodeCamp site, and whatever regex you want to create, it has to go in between these 2 slashes. These are forward slashes. So this one is the opening slash, and this one is the closing slash. Whatever's in between here is the pattern you want to find. So let's say, for example, I put in 5. We see here on the right side that we get 10 matches. This means that the symbol 5 or the character 5 has been matched 10 times in our input string, sorry. So we have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 10 altogether. And the dash in the phone number is excluded because we're not looking for a dash right now. Now, regex doesn't let you just match static characters like this, like a 5 or even a dash. See, if we put a dash, we have 2 matches. If I put in 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, we have 0 matches, or no match, right? If you put a 5, you get 10. If you put a dash, you get 2 matches, because that's what matches in the regex. Regex doesn't limit you to static characters. You can put in special symbols that regex recognizes and can automate for you. You can put in special symbols that regex understands. So here's one that may be useful to us. You do a forward slash and you type D. And what I love about this site is you can hover over any part of the expression and it tells you what it's all about. So this \D, this represents a digit. A digit is anything from 0 through 9. So now we can see, just like when we put in the 5, we had 10 matches. If we put in /D, we still get 10 matches because we're looking for any digit. You can also represent that in regex by using what's called a character set. A character set is a box, and anything in that box gets matched, would be considered a match. So with this box, it's almost like creating an array. You would have your opening and closing brackets, and then inside of here you can put 0 through 9. And this is another way to look for all digits. Here's 0 through 9 inside this character set, and we see once again we have 10 matches. Once you get used to regex, you might prefer this one, but it's really up to you, however you like it better. So, how can we match an entire telephone number? What we want is when the user inputs a valid telephone number like this, we want the entire thing to be considered a match. We don't want 10 matches, we want just one match. So regex allows you to specify these things called quantifiers. A quantifier tells regex how many of a given token do you want to match. So by default, when you say /d for digit, you match only one. We have 10 matches because there's 10 numbers, and we're matching them one at a time. Now, when you're doing telephone numbers, you want to match these in groups of 3 or in groups of 4, right? Because we have 555, then a separator, 555, another separator, then 4 more 5s. So the way you can specify how many digits at a time you want to match is with curly braces. In between these curly braces, you put a number. I'm going to put in 3. Now we can hover and see this is a quantifier in regex, and you can just read what it says here, match 3 of the preceding token. So whatever goes in between these curly braces, the number here, that's how many /ds we are going to match. And in this case, now we've gone from 10 matches to just 3, because 555 repeats itself 3 times in this string. But this doesn't cover the back of the telephone number because that's 4 digits. So this is incomplete. We also have to account for the dashes. Our function would return false if this is all we had, because this does not look like a valid telephone number, even though it is. So our regex needs a bit more fixing. Well, here's what we can do. Why don't we try just mimicking the shape of this to start? So we match 3 digits. Now, what if we had a dash? Okay, now we have 2 matches. You see that? Because 555 dash shows itself twice in this string. Now, what if we did it this time with 4? Okay, we found just 1 match. We're kind of got closer, but a little bit farther at the same time, because this sequence of 3 digits, dash, and 4 digits shows itself once. How do we include this part of the string? Well, why don't we just rewind back, copy this, and paste it to the front. And now we have a regex that matches this entire phone number. 1 match. So what we have here is a regular expression that will pass any phone number that has a shape like this. If it has this digit, or rather 0 through 9, 3 times, a dash, this any digit 3 more times, followed by a dash, and then any digit 4 times. So 3 dash 3 dash 4, that is valid according to this regex. So let's see what happens if we try to use it in our FreeCodeCamp function. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to say const regex equals, and remember you have to have your slashes. This is how you denote a regular expression. If you fill in these slashes, now when you hover over regex, you can see that it is of type regexp. That is short for regular expression, of course. And every regex in JavaScript has a method called test. And so what test does is it takes a string and it just returns true if that string is valid according to that regex test, and it returns false if that string is not valid. Why don't we return the boolean of regex.test string? We'll run all of our test cases. See, running tests here. And believe it or not, we should have a few passes. See, check this out. So if it looks like this, we do get back a Boolean. Okay, that's just a, if you return true or false, that test will pass. So we don't care about this one. But look at this one. This matches. This is considered a pass. Now, why is that? There's a 1 here. Actually, I would like to find out myself. Let's go to the other tab. Let's paste this in. This should not have been a match. I think what you are supposed to do, you use 2 more regular expression characters. You put a caret at the front. This caret means the beginning of this string has to look like this. This denotes here's where the string begins. And if you put a $sign, this denotes where does the string end. So basically from front to back, your string has to match this. You can't have anything in the front or anything trailing that messes it up. So let's try that one more time. Gonna update our regex. I'm just gonna put the caret here and I'll put the $sign at the end. This is gonna make it a little bit stricter. Now let's see. This should pass. Yeah, see? Okay, now it fails because we're not matching for this type of string. Okay, good. This fails. This fails. This one passes because it matches our regex perfectly. But you see what I'm getting at here. We at least got this one passing because we had a regex that supports this. So now basically, if you just think about it, you're going to need to create one regex or many regexes that allow you to recognize all these different types. And we will go through each type in this video, but I thought I would share with you a solution that I found online. I believe it was in the FreeCodeCamp forums, and it was a gigantic regex that I honestly wouldn't want to put in a code base. Let me find it for you. Okay, check out this monster. I hardly know where it begins and where it ends. And if we put in our other test cases, this should pass. So let's try this real quick. So instead of doing this, we're going to put all this, and we will run our test cases and see what happens. Okay, so looks like this regex works. Okay, this is not the end of the video. We are going to go into this, and this is not even going to be our solution, because I personally would prefer something that's more readable. But we will dive into this. So let's get the other inputs here. So this should be valid. This should be valid. Actually, there should be a whole list up here. Okay, let's just take this list, and hopefully regexpal can support it. You might need to put on a multi-line flag. Okay, cool. So we see that these are all supported numbers, right? So this regex is basically a ton of conditionals inside one statement. Okay, like this question mark. If you see a question mark in regex, that means optional. So you can see here that they have a 1. If you have it, great. If you don't have it, that's okay, because optional says if you have 0 or 1 of the preceding token. So if you do put a 1 or you don't put a 1, it's fine. That's how it supports this phone number. And that's how it supports the other ones that don't have a 1 in front of them. Now you have a space here, which, again, this is optional because some phone numbers, they do have a space. Some of them don't. So like, for example, you should also be able to do 1555, 555, 5555. This is also a valid match, as you can see. Whether you have a space or not, it's still valid. If you do 2 spaces or 3, yeah, this should not be valid, but this is valid. So now you're going to have another optional space inside the parentheses, and you should be able to recognize this one by now. You have the digit. I think this website is acting up. You have this digit, and then up to, or only 3 times, exactly 3 times, because you have to have 3 digits. Now, what they did here was a character set. You're saying here either a dash or a space after the first 3 digits. So that's how this matches. That's how this one matches. And then after this, a star, which is interesting. I believe that means it allows any amount of dashes, which is strange. Okay, so you can have as many spaces as you want. I don't know if that's really the best thing to do, but hey, I mean, it works. Okay, so it's saying all of this, or this is the or symbol. Okay, this is called alternation in regex, acts like a Boolean or. So you're saying all of this or all of this. You see how this gets out of hand very quickly. And it's basically the same thing. You have the optional space here. You have the 3 digits. You have the character set. But I believe this one allows for parentheses. That's what supports this stuff, I believe. And then you have another space any number of times. This is crazy. And then after that, you have another 3 digits. So that would be these guys over here. Same idea, a character set. We allow either a dash or a space. And that whole thing is optional, apparently. And then at the very end, you have 4 digits ending off your input, which makes all of these valid. So this, honestly, even if I was the one that wrote this, I would have difficulty reading this. And I'm not shooting down the author of this solution. I just personally prefer, for the sake of having a readable code base, this is not how you'd want to go through it. So let's try to investigate another solution that makes sense. So I'm going to get rid of this. And we're going to start with our original regex, which is right here. Now this regex only supports this phone number. What can you do to support the other ones? Well, I think the easiest way would be to create a regex for every variant, because that gigantic regex that we had here, it pretty much had all of the conditionals and if this or that inside of one statement. And that works, and it will be more performant. It is a faster solution than what I'm going to propose. But at this level, unless you're validating millions and millions of phone numbers in one shot, performance doesn't matter. What you need is a solution that makes sense to whoever's reading it. We're going to start with this, and we're just going to start adding regexes to it, but not in the form of one giant regex. We're actually just going to do it as an array. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to say const valid patterns is going to be an array. And then we're going to put our first regex inside here. Okay. Then we're going to have, more regexes down here. Then what we're going to return is valid patterns dot sum. Sum is a method on all JavaScript arrays. You pass it what's called a predicate. This is a function that returns true or false. And it will tell you, does any element inside this array pass whatever your condition is. So we're going to have any given pattern. You put a function inside here. There's a little parentheses. And every pattern is a regex, right? So we're going to do pattern.test string. So we're going to have several regexes in here, and we're pretty much looping through each regex, and we're testing our input string on it. If any one of them pass, this entire thing will become true. If all of them fail, then this thing will return false. So if we just run this right now, we can see that we did fail a bunch of test cases, of course. Let's see here. Okay, so this passed. And this passed. So you see we're in the exact same position that we were before. But now we can simply add regexes to this array that should pass. So let's see here. And I'm also going to put a comment. So I'm going to say 555, 555, 5555. See, this denotes that this regex is for this kind of telephone number. And in my opinion, this is way easier to read. Now what we have to do, just add another regex to a number that should be supported. So we see, for example, this one should return true. We can copy that phone number. We'll put it as a comment, and then we'll create our regex. You can have a 1 here. Then you can have your 3 digits, dash, 3 digits, dash, 4 digits. Now, this should be an exact match. Hold on. You need to have your beginning and ending characters here. Let's run, and we'll see if we get a check mark here. This one gets a check mark, see? Now, if we want to support this one, let's just copy this line, And now we will support parentheses. So you would do this and this. But since parentheses means something special in regex, you actually have to escape them. So instead of just parentheses, you're going to put a backslash before each one. This tells regex, hey, I'm looking at parentheses. I'm not talking about a special type of character. So now let's see if this one passes. No, not yet. And the reason is because we should not have a dash here. Because see, this number should not have a dash if we look at it. Okay, yeah, there's spaces. So this should be a space. Now if you run it, hopefully we get a check mark, and boom. See? This should be easy. This is just a bunch of 5s. We'll put a comment here. So for this regex, you're going to start and you're going to end with a digit 10 times. Check mark, please. Nice. This should also return true. So let's copy this one. Oops, that was a mistake. Okay, what would this regex look like? All right, you're going to have a space. You're going to have a pair of parentheses, and inside of there, 3 digits, no space, another 3 digits, dash, 4 digits. Hopefully this passes. Check mark, please. No, not yet. Why? What did I do wrong? Excuse me. No space. What was I thinking? Nice. Okay. That is another check mark, check mark, check mark, check mark. All right. This should also return true. This is a 1 in front with a bunch of spaces, comma. Okay. Create your regex. So we are going to have a 1 space, any 3 digits, space, same thing, space, and any 4 digits. Now let's run. Excellent. Okay, what else is failing in here? But you see, it's really just a matter of rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. For this, you only need to know a couple of key things. The fact that this stands for any digit, this is how many times you want to see it, and the fact that when you do parentheses, you have to escape them because they mean something else. And perhaps in a future video, I will get into them. But for this video, we don't need to get into that syntax. Sometimes by not properly starting and finishing, you will allow things that should not be allowed. So let's make sure they all start with a caret. Let's look for caret. That's good. And let's look for $. Also good. So let's see if this is still failing. Good. This should return true. Okay. So that's another phone number that we have to include. So this is going to be 1 parentheses. Inside those parentheses are any 3 digits. No space. Any 3 digits, dash, any 4 digits. And here we go. We have passed every single regex. All of these are considered valid, and a few others, and the rest are considered invalid. So let's quickly review here. We had this regex previously, which did the trick. It does work. I can't deny it. I can't put it down. But in my opinion, this is very difficult to read. It is something that you have to sit there and manually parse, and you're going to forget it every couple of weeks, probably, unless you write it down somewhere or break it up. So what I opted for was a solution that is slightly slower. I did run benchmarks, and a solution like this runs probably 5 times faster than a solution like this, because in regex, you have a loop under the hood, looping through each character. And now I've added a loop on top of a loop where for each regex, we are looping. So it is a little bit slower. It's about 5 times slower, if I remember correctly, but you only feel the difference after about 2 million phone numbers in a row. You're not really going to feel the difference, practically speaking. In my opinion, this is one of the times where I would sacrifice a small performance boost for a huge readability boost. This is going to save so many developers so many hours, the more people you have in the code base that are going to be touching this. Because now you can easily see what regular expression belongs to what. I hope that makes sense. I hope I explained it. We didn't really dive too deep into regex. We just learned enough to be able to solve this challenge. And I hope everything made sense. Like I said, I'm on Twitter. All the links will be in the description. If you want to support me, if you want to message me, if you have any questions or feedback about this video, I would love to hear from you. Thank you so much and take care.